oh my God, why did I put myself through this? Why did I do this? Why did I do that? Girl, I felt horrible. With some of my greatest struggles came the best things out of life. You have to feel ugly in order to be beautiful, in order to feel beautiful, in order to love yourself again, in order to heal your past. You're gonna have to dig deep and dig into these ugly, ugly, ugly traumas and these ugly, ugly childhood that you went through. Hey guys, it's Aliesha, or you can call me Eli. I am so excited for today's topic. It's been a topic I have had on my list for a long time. So today is gonna be on what they don't tell you about the healing journey / self-love journey, because babe, there are so many things that I learned along the way that I did not realize that I was gonna end up learning. I literally had this mindset when I first started that it was like all about just looking good and presenting myself well and self-care as in hygiene routines and all that, and it's like it's so much deeper than that. It was so much deeper than that. And I just was so excited for like the physical side. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna look like this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this hygiene, I'm gonna do this self-care, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Like it was just so physically and superficial that all of those things that I was working on wasn't working until I really cracked down on the things that I'm going to talk about, and until I cracked down on my mental. And when I started to heal myself and cracked down on my mental, this is when these things started to happen and it got ugly. So the first thing I want to talk about is that you are always going to be healing, and it always feels like there's something to work on. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. When I first started this journey, I had no idea that I was going to constantly be healing, constantly working on myself, constantly improving. Self-improvement is a continuous thing, and they do not tell you about that. You think that when you first start, you'd be like, okay, this is going to happen and this is going to happen. And those things are true. Like good things are going to come out of it, but as soon as you work on something, you won't have to work on another thing. As soon as you work on that thing, you're gonna have to work on something else. Like there are times where I've had to work on my people-pleasing tendencies, but then I got better with that, but then I had to work on creating standards, and then I had to work on having boundaries, and then I had to work on like loving the physical side of me, and then I had to work on my thoughts and my mindset, and it was just so much that I always felt like I had to continually improve. I felt like it was a never-ending thing, and I realized that, oh my God, it was this point in time where I was just trying to be so perfect, and I thought that like it was just gonna be one thing and I was gonna be done, that I was gonna fall in love with my looks, I was gonna like who I am, and that was it, you know. That was it. And it wasn't that. It was like so many things that were popping up at me that I didn't know were gonna pop up in order for me to like who I was or even heal from my past. Like there were so many things that I had to go through and obstacles that I've had to go through, and still some things do pop up. And I want people to know that, because before you go on this journey, like you do not want to become like too perfect in everything, because it's like you're not going to be perfect with everything, and you have to honestly start living your life instead of trying to be perfect, because a lot of us can get into this space of feeling like we can't live our life until we improve and until we truly love ourselves. But girl, trust me, like it is not practical for you to just stop your life just because you are just because you're healing. The next thing I want to talk about is it does not happen overnight. Okay, this kind of just goes along with the first, the one I was talking about with it always being something. It does not happen overnight though. Like you will not wake up tomorrow, and if you're starting today, you will not wake up tomorrow and be like, yep, I love myself. Like babe, it depending on who you are and how much you have to heal from and all the things you have to go through, it may take you years, it may take you months, it may take you it's gonna be a while, girl. It's gonna be a while. And sometimes you find yourself slipping back to your old self, and then you're like, oh my God, like, what the heck, have I even changed? What have I done? Like, oh my God, like, you start to like, oh my God, get into your mind, and you're like, why don't I still love myself? Why can't I heal from this thing? Why am I holding myself back? Like, there's so many times I've held myself back, and we're gonna get into that point too, but I've held myself back because I was like, bruh, like, is this anything working? Like, am I even doing the right things? Why isn't it happening? And there's so many times where I've just cried myself to sleep because I thought, like, dang, like, this is not working. Especially in my early stages. I don't do that now. Like, now, girl, your girl loves herself. But I'm just saying, there was so many ugly moments because it didn't happen for me overnight, and I thought I was doing something wrong, but in reality I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was healing, and I did not know that healing was so ugly. I didn't know healing was ugly. And that brings me to my next point. You are going to feel so ugly. Let me explain, okay? Let me explain. The reason you're going to feel ugly is because when you're healing, when you're learning to love yourself, you have to look within yourself to find it. And when you look within yourself, you may find things that you do not like right off the bat. You may find things that you've done in the past, mistakes that you've made in the past, or dang, like, I was not, I made some stupid choices, or I really could have avoided this thing that happened to me, or I really attracted this kind of relationship. And I would beat myself up. I would beat myself up so bad because I thought that I was just appalled by the person that I felt like I was, and I felt ugly I felt so ugly, and I didn't realize that healing required me to feel that way so I can cry, so I can forgive myself, so I can learn different things. Like, I did not know that it required me to feel ugly in order for me to feel beautiful. I did not know that I had to peel ugly layers of myself to find the good ones. Like, you do not realize how much you've endured, how much you've gone through, and literally you start to really hide from yourself when this happens. I've tried to hide certain things about my past, and I tried to, like, not be honest with myself about it, or even just things that have happened to me when I was a child. Like, it is so crazy to look at yourself and be like, I cannot believe I went through this stuff, and you almost want to hide and, like, not talk about it and not think about it because you're like, oh my God. And it's so crazy because a lot of these things weren't your fault, whatever you went through, but it just almost feels like it is your fault in the moment. And it was ugly. It was ugly because I had to heal. I had to also forgive people from my from my past, and forgive people who weren't good to me in childhood. Like, I had to forgive people who weren't good to me in my childhood, and that in itself wasn't fun. It was not fun to do all those things, and I never knew that is how you heal. That is what you have to do to heal from things, because you have to honestly forgive people for the mistakes they've done, or some of them weren't even mistakes. Some of them were just, people were just, they shouldn't have did that to you, and you gotta heal from that, and you have to forgive people from your past. And I just never realized I had to go so deep into my childhood, so deep into myself, and current things that I was doing. Like, I did not know I had to do that, and it honestly became ugly. I was crying all the time because I just felt like, man, like, oh my God, why did I put myself through this? Why did I do this? Why did I do that? Girl, I felt horrible. But honestly, there was so much beauty that came out of my adversity. There was so much beauty that came out of my struggle. There was so much love that came out of not liking myself. And it sounds so crazy to think about, but it is so true. I always say, and one thing that I've learned about this journey and loving myself was that with some of my greatest struggles came the best things out of life. And it's insane how much that works out for you. So yeah, you have to feel ugly in order to be beautiful, in order to feel beautiful, in order to love yourself again, in order to heal your past. You're gonna have to dig deep and dig into these ugly traumas and these ugly childhood that you went through, or maybe it wasn't ugly, but it was just mistakes that have been made, things that ways you treated people. You're going to have to dig into it, and it's gonna be a little hard. It's gonna be hard. The point is that you're gonna do a lot of crying, and you're gonna just have to forgive yourself. And I definitely am gonna do a whole video on how to forgive yourself. But yeah, in this self-love journey, you're going to have to really look within yourself, look at your reflection in the mirror, look at the things you've done in the past, look at the things that were done to you in the past, and you're gonna have to forgive yourself and people that you don't even want to forgive. And that is not easy, because how do you forgive somebody that has done you wrong, or treated you bad, or even just yourself? Oh my God, the hardest thing that I've ever had to do was forgive myself. And you get angry. You're gonna get angry at yourself. You're going to cry. You're going to grieve. You're going to do these things because you are shedding layers of yourself. You are shedding your old self, and it's not easy. It's not easy. But like I said, there's so much beauty that comes out of it. You're not gonna go back. You're not gonna want to go back. And it's going to feel like you're not healing, because you're going to be doing a bunch of crying, and you're going to be doing a bunch of, you're going to have a bunch of anger, and it's not going to be easy. It's going to feel like you're not healing, but in truth, you are healing. Remember that you are healing. If you are going through a rough patch right now, and you're on this self-love healing journey, and you keep crying every day, and you're like, oh, I still don't like myself, you are healing. It's working. Trust me, it is working. Another thing that I've learned is that isolation is key. Oh my goodness. I talk about isolation a lot in all my other videos, and this part of my self-love healing journey was the best thing that I ever done for myself. I know everybody is different, but I had to isolate from people, from social media, from all of these things that were holding me back, because social media was telling me something that I wasn't, and something that I should have been and felt like I had to be. But I felt like I wasn't my own person, and I had to learn how to be my own person, and I had to learn how to have my own identity. And I realized that at the time I didn't have my own identity. I didn't know myself. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know what I wanted. In this day and age with social media, it's like you can adopt a personality or something that isn't you, and it's so easy to do that. So isolation for me has been the key, and it honestly skyrocketed my self-love journey, because I saw myself. I was able to see who I was and get to know who I was once I isolated myself from things and people and places and all this other stuff. And I realized that in my isolation, that baby, I was amazing. I was amazing. I loved myself. I didn't want to be nobody else but myself. I realized my power in my isolation period. And I say this is key, because this helps you to get to know who you are. And that's why I talk about it so much, because if I hadn't isolated, honestly, I really do not know where I would be right now. Isolation is key. And you don't necessarily have to cut everybody off. That's not what I'm saying. But you got to spend more time with yourself than you're spending with people, because people can influence you. If you don't know who you are, and in my case, I did it in the past, people influenced me, and I didn't know who I was and what I wanted to be, or my deepest desires and the things that I wanted to go after in my life, and how to love myself. I didn't know any of that stuff. So I had to isolate and get to know myself, get to know my values, get to know my wants, get to know my needs. I needed to get to know that. I needed to know how to cope. I needed to do all this stuff, and I could not get to know that stuff if I was in the face of other people, because then they were going to be adopting their own principles onto me, and that is not what I needed at the time. The next thing that kind of goes along with isolation that I didn't realize is that you can become very, very, how do I say this, so stuck in your head in isolation mode that you stay in isolation mode for so long and you don't even put yourself out there anymore. I went through this really bad because there was a point in time when I was isolating and I was getting to know myself that I became scared of myself. Because I got to know myself and I know my past mistakes, I started to isolate too long, and I started to become scared to put myself out there. I started to become scared to make new friends because I felt that if I got new friends, that people would kind of reflect on what I felt at the moment. And at the moment, I didn't realize that isolation was making me afraid of being myself and who I truly was, because I changed so much when I got into isolation mode too. And I was also scared to show the new me to certain people, my family, old friends, and just new people in general. I was scared to make new friends because I just thought like that I had to be perfect, that I found out things about myself that I didn't particularly like, and I thought I had to be perfect. And it wasn't until I realized in my isolation mode that I just didn't have to be perfect, and that I needed to put myself out there regardless of how I was feeling. And I realized in that moment, once I put myself out there, that's when the real healing started. That's when I really became healed, because I started to put myself out there, and the actions and the mistakes that I would make once I put myself out there and acted on those things, I could correct. But I could not correct myself if I was constantly in my head and telling myself, hey, I have to be this way, I have to do this right, I have to make this, I can't make a mistake, like I had to make mistakes in order for me to correct them. So I had to realize that sometimes when you do become in isolation mode, you can become scared to put yourself out there, but you cannot be scared to change who you are. You cannot be scared to make new friends, put yourself out there, make mistakes, because that is actually how you're going to learn. The learning in the healing journey is really, it does come from your mindset and the things that you learn about, but it also comes from putting yourself out there and putting in action. And when you put in action, you can change, but you can't change unless you put in any action. And the next thing that I actually kind of goes along with that, you can become very self-conscious rather than self-aware. And this was me for the longest. I thought that I was being I was self-aware. I knew stuff about myself, that I was correcting things that I did wrong. And I didn't realize that I had become obsessed with correcting everything about me. Every mistake I made, every little thing I said out of my mouth, and every little thing that I've done in public or in private, I had to correct. Or it was just like I had to correct myself. And I did not realize that instead of becoming self-aware, I became self-conscious, and I started nitpicking everything that I had to fix, everything that I had to work on, everything. And then I realized that, oh my God, I am not being self-aware. I am being self-conscious. I'm being very self-conscious about myself. And oh my goodness, it took me so long to realize that I didn't have to necessarily nitpick everything that I said out of my mouth. It is something that can happen because you can quickly go from self-awareness to self-conscious like this. So you have to kind of check yourself and catch yourself when you get into that mode, and you have to work on your thoughts and everything. And realize that you're not going to be perfect, and that's okay. That it's all good to improve and correct yourself, but do not nitpick at everything wrong with yourself. It's not gonna work, babe. You're oh my God, what was I just trying to say? You're gonna kind of be doing the opposite of what you want to do, which is become self-aware about yourself. Another thing that I did not realize that came with this self-love journey and this healing journey was that once you've healed and once you've worked on yourself, you kind of start to kind of outgrow people. You might outgrow certain people in your life unintentionally. It kind of just happens. You may just lose friends because people may not like the new you. Honestly, that is actually something that actually just happens in your 20s also, not just because you were healing, but in your 20s you kind of just realize that a lot of the friendships or family members you might have around you or relationships, they just may not align with you anymore. The next thing I want to talk about is that so many things that you're going to give up. You are going to give up so many things on your self-love and healing journey and self-improvement journey, because you're gonna have to give up so many bad habits that you've adopted in your life. You're gonna have to give up your mindset, your bad mindset, in order for a good one. And shoot, sounds like a win to me. You're gonna have to give up your bad mindset. You're gonna have to give up all your bad habits that you've had. You might have to give up some friends that you've had. You might have to give up some even family members. I've heard people have had to give up family members. You may have to give up old things that you were doing in the past, old ways that you were acting, depending on the type of woman that you want to be or the kind of person that you want to be, or wherever you see yourself. You may have to give up a lot of things, and I've certainly had to give up a lot of old habits. Definitely I've had to give up my old standards and actually have raised my standards, and I've had to have put in place some boundaries in my life. I've had to do so much, but I'm so happy I done it, because baby I don't want to be nobody else. I do not want to be nobody else. I love where I'm at in my life right now. So girl, it's definitely worth it. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is sometimes it's a constant battle between your old self and your new self. And I feel like I kind of touched on this a little bit, or maybe not, I don't know. But I've had to battle with my old self for so long. My old habits, my old ways of thinking, my old patterns, my old thoughts. I've had to literally put up a fist battle. I'm not kidding y'all. Like, I still have to sometimes, because there'll be old patterns and old ways and old habits I'll almost slip into, and I'll be like, why the heck did I do that? Like, it's been 4 years, like, why am I doing this? And I've had to put up a battle with my old self and be like, no, you are not this person anymore. And even just telling my mind that I was not the same person. And I think subconsciously I thought that I was the same person, so in turn I was starting to put up old, starting to get into old habits. But sometimes, man, it's this constant battle of like, have I really been improving? Have I been doing enough? Have I done this? Have I done that? And it is so rough at times, because you're like, oh my god, like have I changed? Have I done this? Have I done this? Am I doing the right things? Oh my goodness. I was so stuck in my head, and it's a battle. It's still a battle that I sometimes have to go through too now. It's like, dang, like, have I really become the woman of my dreams? And it's just something you gotta kind of detach yourself from. You have to detach yourself from the old person and the old narrative that you used to tell yourself, because it's not easy. But I'm here to tell you that you can have a new identity. You can be a new person, no matter what anybody thinks, no matter what you think, no matter what anything. You can always change for the better. There is no reason that, and no shame in changing. If you want to be a whole new person and create a whole new identity for yourself, do it. Please do it, because you will not regret it. And even if you are still battling with your old self and you see this new person in front of you, but it feels like you're still the same, keep pushing, because babe, you are not the same person that you were yesterday, and you have improved, and you have done the things that you wanted to do and supposed to do, and you are on your way to being your dream woman. Just realize that. So I just wanted to end it with that, because oh my goodness, it has been a battle. Okay, it has been a battle. But if you guys would love a part 2, let me know, because I definitely could probably add some more. I just didn't want this video to be long, even though it's probably long anyways. And let me know some things that you had to deal with in your healing journey, or some things that surprised you. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You guys have a wonderful day, and bye. Trying to get by, but I'm burning.